tonight to this business after hours here at CIS. And I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to host tonight. Gordon, we really appreciate it. On this, our 30th anniversary here at CIS. What started 30 years ago as a one-man practice today has grown into a 40-man practice, soon to be a 60-man practice in 2 states. And it all started here in Houma, Louisiana. And today we have an international reputation for what we do. And none of that would have been possible without the leadership of our founder, Dr. Craig Walker, and the fine physicians he brought in initially, Dr. Bill Ladd over there, Dr. Rick Abbott, Dr. Jody Stagg, Dr. Peter Fail, Dr. Anil, Dr. Angeron, all here in Houma. And last night at the Parish Council meeting, they did a proclamation celebrating the partnership between CIS and Terrebonne General Medical Center for the last 30 years. And it was a very nice event last night, and we really appreciated the Parish Council doing that, because it's really the community that has supported us and all the businesses that have supported us over the years that have helped us be successful. And we never forget that. We never forget where we came from, where we grew from. All of our employees, CIS today employs over 525 employees. And we don't forget who does all the work and who really is behind it. And so we really appreciate it. We appreciate our partnership, not only with the community, but also with the hospital, Phyllis, and the board has been incredible in supporting us over the years. And so I'd ask Phyllis Peoples to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you, David. On behalf of Terrebonne General, we have been in a relationship with CIS for over 30 years. They've been here. Craig had a vision, or should I say Dr. Walker, I guess we have such an informal type of relationship, but Dr. Walker had a vision. And he came to the hospital at that time and said, I know what we can accomplish. And as we were talking yesterday, he did feel that people felt he might have dementia for that vision, and that there was no way what you see today would ever be accomplished. But he stayed true to what he really wanted to do and how he wanted to care for our community. And in conjunction with Terrebonne General and the board and the community and all the support, what you see today is what is a remarkable thing. Because nobody has to leave our community for any type of cardiac care. And that's amazing. And not only do you not have to leave our community, other people are leaving their communities and coming to us. And not just communities, they're coming from an international place too. So we have been able to put and establish Terrebonne General on the map, Houma on the map, but mostly CIS on the map. And David had the opportunity to mention all of his colleagues and all those physician partners who have made it very special at Terrebonne General, because they take care of you, but I have to say they take care of us too. As administrators, we know that we can call anybody within that organization, and they all speak with the same voice, the same philosophy, and the same vision. And that doesn't always happen, even in your businesses. But they have really set a very strong foundation. So tonight I'd like to give a very small token on behalf of Terrebonne General Administration, board, community, whoever. I think everybody deserves part of this gift that we'd like to give to Dr. Walker, to all his physician partners who have been our partners for so long, and on behalf of all the CIS staff and administration for something that they've done that's extraordinary. And so, Dr. Walker, if you don't mind, I can't carry both, so. It's heavy, but it's for Dr. Walker and his vision and pioneering spirit for all that he knew that we could accomplish here, even when we didn't. So thank you so much.
If I could share with you, and my big boy James here is helping, if I could share with all of you who went back 30 years ago where we are. Those of you who've lived here for 30 years remember what Houma was like 30 years ago. I ask you to think back to that time. 1983, we were in the midst of an oil bust. There's a big industry here called Delta Industries, and it's gone bankrupt. All of its employees were out. The average census in our hospital was 8 patients. We were in an old hospital. We didn't have a cath lab. We didn't have a CCU. We had no nurses trained in critical care monitoring. And I was a young research fellow at Harvard. And I told my chief I was thinking about moving back to Houma. And he about passed out. He says, "Are you crazy? That's an economically depressed area. There's nothing there. What on earth are you going to move back to? Why are you going to do that?" And he had all sorts of offers that had been made to me as a young trainee there around the world, heading big departments around the world. Things with real monies, things that had that. The only thing we were promised in Houma was that we were going to potentially be back home, but nothing else. And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, imagine the capital needs of a young practice. I had, at that moment, a 1-year-old. By the way, I started CIS when my daughter Ashley turned 1. This is also her birthday. And you might ask, why did we do it that day? It's because after a whole week of going around trying to recruit patients, I found exactly 1 patient. 1. And at the end of 1 year, we had a major negative balance sheet. So sometimes I hear people say, well, gee whiz, you came here because it was such a great opportunity. Maybe there was an opportunity, but it wasn't so great. And I think we ultimately got there. But we got there because we had a dream. I really think, and I invest in businesses, when people ask me what's the most important thing, I say invest in people, not ideas. Because good people will make good things happen. And I think that happened. You know, we go back in time. We ultimately got the cath labs built against all odds. We then ultimately had a stent. We had an iliac stent when only 5 centers in the whole world had an iliac stent in the world. Big places around the country didn't have it. We had a coronary stent when only 10 centers in America had a coronary stent. Again, huge places didn't have it. Texas Heart didn't have it. No other place in the state had it. And you say, well, gee, isn't that great? That's fine and dandy. Well, just yesterday, we were notified 2 of the most sought-after trials in all of medicine were coming to Houma, Louisiana. Little bitty tiny Houma. We've never lost that vision. We've never changed. The second part was we didn't have the trained nurses. So what did we do? We went out, we helped raise funds. We helped quadruple the size of Nichols' nursing class. We went up, we taught nurses at Nichols so that they could come back and work. This was a big project. But it was a project, it was a labor of love, if you would. It was a labor of love based on the fact that I'd grown up in a community and watched way too many people die prematurely of something that I thought we could do a better job with. Just that simple. And we did. You know, when we moved back here, Houma, by Medicare's data, not by Craig Walker's data, but by Medicare's catchment data, had the highest death rate mortality in the entire United States from cardiovascular disease. In the last 2 reporting periods, we're amongst the lowest in the entire United States. And unequivocally, we had the greatest change in mortality. It's a big deal. Problem is it's still not a big enough deal. It's still the leading cause of death. And you know, as we look around and we see people, it's still the leading cause of death in men. It's still the leading cause of death in women. And somehow or another, we haven't gotten people alerted to that. I see people at the cancer rallies, and they're important. Cancer is a huge disease. It's a big problem, without equivocation. But it's dwarfed by cardiovascular disease. And I see women who smugly think they're protected against it because they're women. More women have died each of the last years of this last decade than men each year of cardiovascular disease. Women are not immune to this disease. It's a big problem. And you know what's the saddest part? It is preventable. It is treatable. And what we have to do if we're going to really make a big impact is we have to really work hard at prevention. And then if we can't prevent, we have to work hard at early detection. And then if we can't do that, then we do the advanced treatments. Now everybody wants to hear about the advanced treatments, me in particular. I like advanced treatments. It's something that I love. It's really what gets me revved up each day. But if you really want to know where the bang for the buck is, that's not where it is. It's about prevention, and it's about early detection. And that's where we need the help of everyone to get that message out. We have to get into preschools and talk about better choices. We have to talk about not just dietary choices, exercise choices, about not smoking, about doing things that may impact diabetes, which we have an epidemic of in the United States. We have to do that. Part of why we developed a peripheral vascular program. We now have the biggest peripheral vascular program in the entire United States and one of the biggest in the world. But a big part of the propositus in developing that program is because a lot of people who have peripheral vascular disease have heart blockages, but they don't feel them because they can't walk far enough to get the chest pain. Or they have diabetes and therefore they have faulty warning systems and they simply don't know that they have a problem. But we can feel the foot pulses, and if there's no pulse in the foot, they've got a problem. And if you don't have a pulse in your foot, you know what's the most likely thing to kill you? Number one is heart attack, number two is stroke. Not your leg. That's not what does it, it's the other things. So as my big boy right here grows up, I'd like to see him grow up in a town where we've obliterated this problem. Don't know if we'll ever get there. Earlier the newspaper spoke to me and they said, Craig, are you where you want to be? And I said, I'm happy with where we are, but I'm not where I want to be, and I won't get there. We put on what is right now the biggest peripheral vascular conference in America. It's well received, it's well thought of. At the end of each of those conferences, I have almost 30 pages of notes about how I think we should improve it. Now, most people would say it's pretty good if it's the biggest already, right? That's never good enough, because frankly, if we ever get satisfied with where we are, we're not going to get better. I learned a long, long time ago that change is not necessarily a good thing. Change can be three things. It can be something that's really good, it can be really bad, or it can make no difference at all. It's just something different. But the opposite side of that is you can't get better without change. And so we have, as physicians and as a group, embrace change. And that's something that's very difficult to get doctors to do. Doctors like to do the same thing, the same way, all the time. It's a comfort zone. But you can't get better if you do that. So I promise you one thing, we're going to always seek out better ways of doing things. We're going to try to improve the care in our community. We're going to work hard at that. And unless something really dramatic happens, we're going to seek out the new therapies. We're going to try to find those that we think will be better, and we're going to pursue that in a big way. We do thank this community for standing behind us, making it a great place to raise my big boy James and my other children and people like that. But I do also enlist your help in trying to get the message out of trying to do better prevention, early detection, and then if we need to, improve care. And I think James has something he wants to say. What is that, James? That's interesting. What do you want to say? Tell me what you want to say. You want to say something?
Okay. He wants to tell you all what all the form vehicles are called. That's what he just told me.
A combine, a tractor, and a cane cutter.
I will tell you guys something. James likes to share the microphone with me, but I want to show you something about educating people early. I want for you to tell them, what is this bump right here in your leg? What do you call that? The what? The medial malleolus. And he knows that the artery is behind that, and he knows that's where we check for pulses. So James he's well on his way. So sometimes now, he tells people he's going to be a former, but sometimes he tells them maybe a doctor and a former. So but really and truly, I cannot tell you how much we treasure being a part of this community. how seriously we take our part in trying to improve the healthcare of this community, and how blessed we are at this point in time. Yesterday, I was almost late for the board meeting at which they were giving us a little plaque. And it's interesting as to why that was. We had 12 cases that morning in the cath lab, but 8 of those cases were patients from out of state. One of those was a patient sent to us by a professor emeritus at UCLA who wrote the biggest textbook on peripheral vascular disease, and he chose to send his own brother here for care. I'm pretty proud of that. I think it's a big deal. And we didn't just get busy because we're in a town where there's a lot of disease. We got busy because we had a dream, we followed that dream, we sought out to be the best, and frankly, I think we're going to continue to pursue that dream. We have new trials coming. We're serving now as the editors of some of the major journals, and I think the future is incredibly bright for where medicine's going here, and we thank you for your part in that. Thank you so much.